one of my favorite parts of your book, you went to a poultry plant in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which is where I was born and raised, to, quote, test the theory that local meat in its purest form is better for the climate and ethically superior for both worker conditions and animal welfare. What did you find?
I think there's always trade-offs, unfortunately. And while I think the workers there were doing great, and I myself was feeling a backache from holding chickens and having to carve with one hand and the whole thing, I think there's some real problems with the local food movement. In the past decade, it's been touted, and it really still has never made a significant dent in total volume, and that's been disappointing to see. And so I think we need to support local food systems, regional producers, farms like Carversville that, support 90% of soup kitchens in Philadelphia, but then also have a very small on-farm stand that sells the rest. I think there's just not enough scale in those systems, and so it's hard to put the weight of optimism behind something that truly can't scale and is only doing what it's doing because some rich people decided they wanted to do it and get their tax breaks that way.
So would it be feasible for plants to be modeled like this, or no, unless there's a bunch of rich people that want to get their tax breaks that way?
That's the thing. I think it's a great model to replicate. It's not going to be a model to scale. There's some amazing things that they're doing, and anyone who wants to get their own tax break can absolutely start their own farm, and I would hope they do it that way instead of what Bill Gates is doing, who became the largest farmland owner in the country, and he just pretty much rents it out to very large corporate farmers that aren't doing anything, good sustainably, and things like that. And so, I think there's an opportunity. It provides a path forward, but I struggle with solutions that are still at the end of the day up to, a rich person's charity.
Yeah, and you've been covering food and agriculture for years at Forbes. So this book is really a culmination of years of investigative research. And I'm just wondering, what surprised you the most in all of your research?
What surprised me in all my research was that, I've been one of the few journalists who's had access to actually be in these slaughterhouses. I worked this slaughter also in 2020 on a very small scale farm, so I've seen the breadth of it.
Yeah.
And it really hit home for me when I was doing the antibiotics resistance chapter, actually, because I learned through reporting that there's such a grave risk long term for workers that I truly don't think workers really understand if they are taking a meatpacking job, or even if they're working a summer, over college or something at their local meatpacker, because there are superbugs that could cause the next pandemic, and there's also superbugs that can invade our own bodies, and they can exist in our guts. And what I really didn't realize was that superbug, it may never ignite in your body. It also may ignite far later. So it could get ignited by some piece of inflammation, or maybe you get pneumonia, or you get, another disease and you're in the hospital, and all of a sudden that pneumonia could flip on a dime because that superbug came in, and there's no antibiotics that can cure that disease. And I think just knowing that I could have a superbug in me right now, anyone who's worked in these plants could, shocking.
Terrifying. And I think that harkens back to, the workplace safety conversation we had earlier, because these people are exposed to so much, yet you wrote they can't even afford the chicken that they're packing. Like, they can't even afford to bring that home, and yet they're exposed to these crazy health risks.
It's one of the most gross hidden costs of our meat system today. Truly, the ramifications that these workers face and may not even realize they face.
So what do you think's next for the meat industry?
Big change. I want to see a lot more grazing, a lot less chemical-laden animal feed. I want to see actual projects that aren't just test piloting and, taking a tiny percentage of land or, market that they control and actually putting some weight behind us, because we just don't have enough time. We need to do this now. The next 10 years is so crucial to create lasting change. There's already been irreversible damage done, but the next 10 years we'll be able to make sure that's not even worse.
Yeah, and Chloe, you've covered this for almost 10 years. You've visited the kill floor of a slaughterhouse in Omaha, and aside from many other visits to all other places, including this slaughterhouse in Pennsylvania. But has this changed the way you consume meat?
Absolutely. I mean, I was nicknamed Mickey D's on my field hockey club team growing up. I was constantly eating McNuggets in between tournament games. So, I've really taken a step back over the past several years since that slaughterhouse visit, and even a little bit further than that. But I've decided that for me, I know that I want to make sure how I'm sourcing is just as important as what I'm putting into my body. And I think a lot of folks think about local and supporting grass-fed or pasture-raised producers or antibiotic-free producers, and while that's all well and good, it just as much is important to think about the financial systems you're supporting and the businesses you're supporting, because real change will only happen if people are getting the most for their dollars. And I mean that by that, if producers are being empowered to make the change themselves.
Chloe, I read the book. I loved the book. I texted my family, and as soon as I was finished, and I said, listen, I need to change the way I'm consuming meat. So where can people find the book and when?
It makes me so happy to hear. December 6th, anywhere books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, audio books, Kindle, you name it, bookshop, local, independents, please. So excited to get it out there.
Great. Chloe Sorvino, thank you so much.